It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth, financial literacy educator and speaker, entrepreneur, and chairman of the board of Bank Information. Take charge of your financial future with Your Personal Bank. Now here's Ference Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. And, you know, now that we're getting into the holiday season, and I have to admit, if those of you who have been longtime listeners know that this is a time of the year that I've always just loved. I don't know what it is about Christmas season and all that. I just, I guess maybe it's the decorations, the music. Of course, you know, I'm a musician. Those of you know, I played trombone most of my life, both military, you know, high school, military, college, all of that, and still play up until COVID happened. But yeah, I just love everything about the season, family, you know, and what's interesting is, you know, I've had some good memories. And not so good memories, but in general, I'd say overall better than negative. I know that's not true for everybody, but this particular, you know, and you know, based on, you know, family history, growing up and all that, but this particular season, I think is going to be particularly interesting, maybe even challenging. Something I've noticed is a lot of people are really looking forward to and are you know, decorating early and all this kind of stuff, and really are wanting to get involved with the season. I think it's a response that, you know, this past year or so has been extraordinarily difficult and strange and different and challenging in so many ways. And we've had to fight for things or stand up for rights and various things far more than, well, most of us have ever had to do in any time in our lives. So I get it. I understand why it's a time where you want to just, you know, kind of just enjoy the season, if you know what I mean. And I'm with you on that. Totally am. I've also been thinking about some things. And like I said, I like to take the second show of the week and kind of take a bigger picture, a step back. And, you know, I talk about your personal bank and how to take control of your money, reduce taxes, you know, gain access to more money, create positive arbitrage, offset inflation, all those kinds of things. And I talk about that many times in the previous shows. You can always go to yourpersonalbank.com to listen to any of the previous recorded shows, or contact me at 866-268-4422 for more info. But like I said, the second show of the week, I like to take a step back, bigger picture, and really, and it can have to do with anything, frankly, but a lot of it I like to focus on is more economically focused. And of course, I've had to talk about a lot of politics in this past year and a half, because our government has gotten, in my opinion, so over-involved in our lives, far more than, again, I've ever seen in my lifetime. And again, it started with the COVID lockdowns, shutting down small businesses and things, which I thought was a gross overreach of our federal government. But anyway, and state and local governments too, for that matter. But some of the things I've been thinking about, and one thing that kind of comes back, keeps ringing in my ear is, you know, you wonder about why things are the way they are, and why there's some people out there that just seem to hate our country with such a passion, or want things to be so different, and it makes you wonder why. And I've given a lot of thought to that. I'm going to share some of those thoughts today. But also, one thing that keeps ringing in my mind, as I stated earlier, is something Dan Bongino said. I heard him talk about a few months ago. And he's like, you know, one of the things I think we need to realize is this is a blessing in disguise. Challenges, things happen for a reason, right? And how many times in your life, you know what I'm talking about, there's something that seemed like it was a change, it was a challenge. I can use the example with my own business, with COVID. I mean, when we first got hit with it, obviously the first few months were a challenge. I'm in a business where you normally meet people face to face, develop relationships. It's a relationship type business. And although I had traveled the country and I had spoke to a lot of people around the country about the personal bank concept and all, and had done a lot of go-to meetings, Zoom meetings, and things like that, for the most part, though, those were after I'd already met them once. In other words, I'd spoken and, say, had done a workshop or something. So we'd gotten a chance to meet, if you know what I'm saying. I always say slap skin, you know what I'm saying, shake hands, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, that I knew that worked. But what I was concerned about, and I shared this with a lot of people, would it work? Would it be as effective if doing business and developing a business relationship with someone and educating them about a paradigm shift in money and how to take control of their money and all that, reduce taxes, all the stuff like I said earlier. Would all that work if, I'd never met the person? And I wasn't sure if it would work or not. I knew it would work, but what didn't know is to what degree, because, hadn't tried it, right? And, of course, COVID pretty much forced that on everyone. And I think because of that happening, that forcing of folks meeting by phone, by computer, and all that kind of stuff, it became acceptable. It became the norm, right? In other words, what I was doing before was kind of still a little ahead of the curve, is a little out of the ordinary, particularly in my industry, the financial industry. Still rather archaic at times, right? And I found it worked out wonderfully well. And then, of course, the radio thing came along. I've shared that story before COVID, but then it really, really launched after, took on a bigger role because, the speaking engagement stopped, obviously, right? So, workshops and things. So the radio had to become the predominant way of me communicating with people and reaching out and all that. And it's, of course, worked out great. So, and I thank you all for that. But it was that uncertainty and that challenge, but it turned into a blessing in disguise. In other words, I wouldn't trade it back because, I travel much, much less than I used to with my family more. Working from home, we went to a virtual office because, again, nobody was working in the offices anymore. So why keep those open and pay for that overhead? So, I get to have lunch and dinner with my family most days. And, I wouldn't trade that for the world. I have 2 teenage daughters, and we've gotten closer through the process. And, I understand it's been a change and it's been a challenge for many, many people, and in some respects myself too, included. But on the other side of the coin, there's been some true amazing blessings. And again, I wouldn't want to go back. Now, why is this so important? Well, I think it's from our country standpoint and a political standpoint and where we're at and where we're going, where we've been and where we're going and all those things. I think Dan Bongino was right. In other words, there was a group of people, they like to call themselves progressives. You've heard me say I think they're regressive. They want to go to a lesser form of government. Democracy is the higher form of government, more freedom and all that for everybody, and more success for more people. But they want to go to a Marxist, socialist, even communist type of approach. Look at who they, nominate for different positions. It's not that hard to figure out. The point is, these people have been, in essence, going to war, so to speak, against our form of government, against our society, and they've been doing that for a long time, so in some cases, decades even. And most of us, myself included, were just not that aware of it. We were living our lives, raising our families, doing our business and building our careers, retire. We'd vote and we, pay attention to politics to a degree, but, very cursory, right? A very cursory approach. We were more focused on our lives, right? And we were under attack, but we didn't know it. We were at war, but didn't know it. Much like in a lot of ways, like 9/11. The terrorists, the radicals, the people that attacked us and, knocked down the Twin Towers and all that kind of stuff on 9/11, they worked and trained and planned for years before that happened, right? Those terrorists, in essence, had declared war on America, on the United States, on us, you and I, and were actively training and preparing and planning for that war long before most of us had any idea that they were even there. They really existed, if you know what I'm saying. Now, they declared war against us, but we didn't know it until like 9/11 when we woke up to the fact. Well, this administration and all the actions they've taken starting from the very first day, shutting down the Keystone Pipeline, for example, and going right, opening the borders in Afghanistan and inflation and all the debacles and all the different things that they're doing, and the rules and the vaccine mandates and everything else that they're doing, attacking parents, calling them domestic terrorists, you name it. Shutting down businesses, everything with COVID mandates and everything else has caused the average American to wake up, including myself. And we've come to realize as they continue, and they're continuing to attack us, okay? They haven't stopped, okay? And we're realizing, well, holy cow, wait a minute, we're at war. And this is a war of ideas. This is a war for the soul of our country. This is a war of our way of life, of our society, of the type of government we live, all those things. And so the reality is maybe we needed this wake up call is what it really boils down to. He was right. And without this wake up call, things would have continued to progress down the path that they were, which frankly in many ways was not a good path. I mean, it was like the frog, and you've heard the proverbial frog in a boiling pot of water. If you want to boil a frog, you put them in a pot of room temperature water, and you very, very slowly increase the temperature, and oftentimes they won't even jump out, and you'll boil the frog, right? And that's what was happening. COVID and all the things, and the Biden administration getting in power, and all these things happening, they cranked the heat up because they realized, hey, now they went for broke. They're not hiding it anymore, and a lot of these things coming out us we can't ignore. I mean, people who are faced with losing, being forced to take a jab or lose their job, that's going to wake you up. That's a wake up call, right? About attacks on your freedom and things like that. So, although I don't wish any of this had happened, and I don't wish it on anyone, and I don't wish anyone who had gone through all this, and I totally get the desire to go back to a little bit of normalcy for the holiday season and enjoy the holidays, which I fully intend to do, by all means. You should. Don't let somebody take your joy from you, right? This is a wake-up call we needed, and we are mobilized, and the mobilization is growing. The momentum is growing. The silent majority has woken up. It's kind of like Pearl Harbor, where, in essence, the sleeping giant has been awoken. And these are good things, and there are some exciting things coming down the pike, coming up, leading into next year, already even this year, but of course even more leading into next year. And I think, crescendoing with the midterm elections next year, of course, and then 2 years later, the presidential, I believe. We're going to see some really tremendous things happen. So from a holiday season, a Christmas season, New Year's, I think we have a lot to look forward to. I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned in the next segment because I got some really excited local news on the school board front that I think you guys are going to be pretty excited about. So don't miss it. I want to share this next.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. And as I was saying in the first segment, this is a time of year I've always cherished, the holiday season. I've just loved it. And like I said, it's also a time I like to slow down a bit, start reflecting about things. This is kind of my season where I recharge my batteries. Because, I talk to people all year long. I work hard. I don't apologize for that. I enjoy what I do. I have a passion for it, if you haven't noticed. I love working with people, helping them change their financial future, educate them on some financial literacy principles, things like that. I love showing them how to reduce their taxes and offset inflation and have access to more money and create positive arbitrage, all those good things. And like I said, you can contact me at toll-free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com for more info, of course. But today, like I said, taking a little bit bigger picture step back, and I'm also excited about the things that are coming up leading into this next year. I believe we're living in some historic times, and there's a revolution happening as we speak, and I think a lot of people are feeling it. And it's a war of ideas. It's a revolution of ideas. There's been a very dedicated but minority who happens to be in charge right now, the progressives, the regressives, whatever, who want to fundamentally change our country in every respect, and they've been actively doing those things or trying to do those things, and they've been doing this for some time. I mean, this isn't new. They've been fighting this fight for in some cases, decades. It's just a lot of things have come to the head. and really woken people up. And it's that great reawakening, right? I think, and we need, like Dan Bongino said in a show a while back, I think this is something we as a country needed. I've shared this with a friend of mine who I spoke to who's been much more active in protecting freedoms and stuff than I was, even for a couple of years prior. He talked to me about it, but I was just busy doing my thing, raising my family, building my business, like most of us. And I've been more awakened when the government started shutting down small businesses. That was my wake-up call, where I realized, wait, this is, in my opinion, a gross overreach of our government powers. And there's been other things. It's been different for different people, but they're waking up. They're waking up to the fact that, hey, like Ronald Reagan said, we have to fight for, each generation has to fight for its freedoms. Freedom is not something that's just given away freely. There's people out there attacking it. So like I said, some exciting things coming up. Just want to share. It's hit national news recently, the Scottsdale School Board, for example. There was, if you didn't hear the story, you can look it up. But the bottom line is some parents, of course, were going to school board meetings, weren't happy with what the schools were teaching the children. And apparently the superintendent was caught with a dossier of private information. We're talking about pictures, addresses, Social Security numbers, all kinds of things on a number of these parents that were complaining. Of course, this kind of stuff, private information, totally illegal, obviously. They're calling for, and I guess some of the rest of the school board is, I don't know all the details, but the point is they're rising up. Good for the parents. They're doing a recall election. They're getting petitions, so I really encourage you to contact them. I met several of them that are parents who are now running for the school board, are going to be running on this recall election. I'm quite certain they're going to get the signatures they need to do the recall election. When we get more dates on when all this happens, I've talked to some of them that we're going to probably be bringing some of them on to the radio show to interview them, share some more information as this comes about. But what I'm excited about is, again, we had people in charge of the Scottsdale School District, for example. And by the way, folks, this is happening all over the country. This has been a concerted effort, primarily by the teachers' unions, of recruiting and grooming people to run for school boards that think like-minded to them. This, all this CRT and all these other things that they're teaching. Things other than education, what we can think of as education, like reading, writing, arithmetic, right? And like most parents, I should say. And it's been a concerted effort, and it's really, taken hold. And I've shared this before. Look, the parents should be in the school board. That's who should be running the schools, because who's more concerned about the kids than them, right? And who has a better handle and what's best for the kids than the parents, right? So that's the parents across the nation are waking up to the fact that their teachers, their schools, I should say, are not teaching them what they believe. They're teaching them stuff that they don't believe in, all right? So the best way to fix that is, well, get rid of them, recall them, and replace them with like-minded folks. And that's where a big part of this movement is really gained a lot of traction, and is expanding from there because, well, we can talk about money, and we can talk about taxes, and we can talk about, the border, and we can talk about Afghanistan or inflation or the Keystone Pipeline or any of these nominees that Biden chooses or whatever. But when it comes to your kids, man, and if you're a parent, you know what I mean. If you're a parent or grandparent, you get it. There's almost nothing more important in this world than your kids. And your kids' well-being, and what you believe, what's important, and your legacy, right? You want your kids to, learn and grow, and most parents want them to do better than themselves, but they also want to instill them with some values and morals and things that are important to you as the parent. And when somebody else, like a school, is stepping into that role and teaching something that in many cases is directly opposite to that, my kids are a million times more important to me than money. You're not going to step in front of that. I'm not going to stand down as the parent. And again, I say, look, you don't get in the way of Mama Bear or Papa Bear, right? There's nowhere in the woods. Most people understand this. There's nowhere in the woods more dangerous than being between a mama bear and her cub. You don't want to be in that position, yet that's where the progressives and the Democrat Party have put themselves, because they've got this ideology and they've been so, how should I say, so adamant about it. So I'm almost at a loss of words. It's like a religion. I guess I don't know how else to put it. All encompassing, that they believe, like, the former governor of Virginia said it, Terry McAuliffe, who lost, of course, a few weeks back, said, I don't think the parents have any business telling the schools what to teach their kids. It gives you an idea where they stand, where they come. They believe the state, the government is in control. They believe in government so much that they believe government is a solution to, well, just about everything, including your kids, what your kids are taught. And, in a society of opportunity, in a country full of freedoms, that from the very foundation of our country, that's what we were founded on, a foundation of freedom and individualism and rights, citizens' rights. It's called the Bill of Rights, right? That stuff don't fly. And like I said, when you come between a mama bear and her cub, that don't fly either. So that's where I felt like that's where the real action was. And then guess what? It has just blossomed and grown from there. And, every movement needs a spark. And that definitely has become the spark. There's some more stuff coming up. I'm going to share some other news here very shortly in the next segment. So I'm really going to encourage you to stay tuned, because I got a big announcement to make that just came about, and I'm super excited about it. So stay tuned. Don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. And like I said, today I've been talking about some things that are, exciting coming up. Some of the bigger picture stuff that's going on. The way that our country has been challenged in one respect, in many respects, many people's lives have changed quite dramatically over the last year and a half. And that's why I'm seeing so many people looking forward to the holidays, Christmas season and New Year's and all that. And I get it. I totally get it. But at the same time, I see a great reawakening. And maybe that's the best way I can put it, is people realizing that their freedoms are under attack. They've got to step up. Just taking care, raising your family and building your career, your businesses, and voting occasionally once, every 2 or 4 years is not enough. You've got to do more. You got to get involved, and I see that happening everywhere. And like I said in the last segment, I met literally yesterday several folks who are driving the recall election for the Scottsdale School Board, and looking to recall the entire board and replace them with parents. And kudos to them. Good for them. And like I said, I'm hopefully as soon as we get some more news, I'll be bringing them on the radio, giving them some more publicity and more details as that goes forward. But I also just got some news. Like I said, one of the things I've been sharing and talking about on this show is the need for us to become more educated as voters, get to know who we're actually voting for, and do they meet our belief system. Look, nobody's going to be a clone. They're not going to believe. We're not going to agree with someone 100%. But overall, is their belief system, similar to ours? And I just got confirmed. Blake Masters, who's running for U.S. Senate from the state of Arizona, will be on the show. And as soon as I have the dates and all that, I will notify you that. But I'll be interviewing him. And again, with the idea of getting to know him better, who he is, who he stands for, where he comes from, why is he running. As far as I know from the research I've done so far, he doesn't. I don't think he's run for any office before. He's a business guy, and I consider he's not an establishment type. Certainly not been a long-time politician, which I think is certainly a plus. Like a lot of his positions he stands for on his website and various things, and from talking to his campaign manager and some other folks I know that know him, we're going to get to know him a little better and find out why he's running for office, where does he stand, what does he want to accomplish if elected, and why should we vote for him? I even said I'm going to go to. It's not going to be a patty cake interview. I want to ask him some real genuine, honest questions just to get to know him. It's not a trick. I'm not a trick either. I'm not trying to set him up or anything. I just want to get to know them and let the voters like you and I'm going to be inviting some others to do that are the ones that are willing. And to his credit, he's excited about doing it, so I'm excited. And one of the things I even shared is, nothing against Blake Masters himself personally, but one of the questions I'm going to ask is, why should we as a voter have confidence that if you do get elected, you're going to follow through on pursue the things that you say you want to do? Because so many times we've been misled and lied to, haven't we? Our current office holder in the White House right now is like, what do I look like, a radical to you? Come on, man. He said it himself. People voted for Biden because they wanted to return to normalcy, not what we've been dealing with this past year, not all this stuff. This is not what he was elected for, for those that did vote for him. So, you've heard me say this all the time. People who just blindly trust politicians, I don't understand those people. And my attitude more is we should treat politicians like with a healthy skepticism. I'm not saying they're all bad, but I think they need to prove themselves, and you need to have some confidence in they're going to do what they're going to say they're going to do, right? Because again, we've been burned so many times. Look at the current situation, the current office right now. The vast majority didn't vote for this. Well, and that's why the approval ratings are where they're at, the job approval and stuff like that. I can say in my lifetime, I've never seen a situation where an office holder, I can think of any stripe, ran on one platform, so to speak, what you thought you were going to get, more of a normal, radical, return to normal, as they were calling it, and then literally turned such a U-turn the other way, dramatic left turn, right? I've never seen it to this level. And, that's why people are angry. That's why people are upset and they're frustrated because, well, we were sold a bill of goods. We were lied to. It's like the used car salesman. We find out the car didn't have 50,000 miles on it. It has 150,000 miles on it, right? We were lied to. And you know what? The American people, nobody likes getting lied to. I don't care who you are. And we've been lied to. Flat out, plain and simple. And I've thought about this. It's so obvious. Why? Why are they continuing to pursue this radical agenda that's far to the left than what even the average Biden voter wanted? I'm going to discuss that in the next segment because I think I've come up with some answers why behind it. So stay tuned. I'm going to share that next segment.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. Like I was telling you in the last segment, and if you missed it, go to yourpersonalbank.com. You can listen to any of the previously recorded shows. You can also contact me at toll-free 866-268-4422 for more information on how to take control of your money, gain positive arbitrage, reduce taxes, offset inflation, all those things. I talk about that in many of the shows. Today, though, again, I'm taking a bigger picture and looking at some things and trying to understand why. And because, when for example, I'm a lover of the truth. And like it talks about in the Bible, the truth will set you free. And I'm not perfect, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people who've dealt with me and worked with me for years have said that you just tell it like it is. And if you listen to me any period of time on the show, you're kind of you probably have noticed that I'm not very PC. I'm not politically correct. I tell people how I think and how I feel. I always say you'll never guess what I'm thinking about because I'll let you know. And look, you can agree or disagree. That's entirely your prerogative. Heck, it's a free country still. At least at this point it is. And like I said, I served in the military, partially one of the reasons to protect and preserve those freedoms. You have that right. And I respect that. But we can also agree to disagree. And like I said, a lot of people think all of my clients agree with me. That's not the case. Majority do, I'm sure. I know that. But not all of them. But there's a respect between us, okay? I don't beat it over with people's heads, so to speak. But let me give you an example. This recent Kyle Rittenhouse case, the court case and all that stuff. And I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I don't particularly pay a lot of attention to those things because, I know there's a lot of political intrigue going on. It became particularly those national cases where you have the legacy media all over it and politicians are commenting on it and all those kind of things. And I take a lot of that with a grain of salt. In fact, because I understand, they have an agenda and they have an agenda they're trying to pursue and they're trying to paint a certain picture. And it's like, trying somebody in the court of the public square. But I would rather wait and see what the evidence is and what the court case like it says, like our justice system, innocent until proven guilty. And of course, in this past case situation, looking at a lot of the political and media, leading up to and during and even after the trial, it's amazing to me, just shocking to me, the level of the agenda overrides the guilty until proven innocent. In other words, the presumption is guilt or innocent until proven guilty. I'm sorry. The overwhelming response and prejudice is guilty, right? So, they went through the whole trial. There was video evidence, eyewitness testimony. I mean, they had everything. I mean, this was about as clear cut as it gets purely from a trial standpoint. I mean, I think the guy, he did get off, of course. He got found innocent on all charges, and it was self-defense. And, I've looked at the video from a clearly, I got to admit, if somebody's hitting me with a skateboard, pointing a pistol at my face, and I had a rifle in my hand, I would shoot back too, okay? Folks, I don't know if I would have waited as long as he did. And I think you got to put yourself in that position. Look, I've been in the military. I've been in the Army. I've fired weapons. I'm not an expert per se, but I've got some experience with it. And man, what he did purely from a standpoint of being under attack, clearly he was. The video shows it. Just look at the video. The video doesn't lie, right? And you get hit in the head with a skateboard, and they're trying to make it being not a big deal. You can kill somebody with a skateboard if you hit them over the head with it, okay? And of course, the other guy pointed a pistol and admitted it in the courtroom, and it was on video. I don't know what else you can do. And before Kyle fired, the pistol was pointed. The guy pointed the pistol at him and was yelling he was going to kill him. They were all screaming and yelling they were going to kill him. And yet, you have people just there's just stating things completely the other way around. All kinds of stuff. You've heard it. I don't need to go into all that. I don't think that's what's important here. What I'm trying to point out here, what I'm trying to do is cut through the noise a little bit. So bear with me for a minute. I don't really care if you think he was guilty or should have got off or whatever. That to me at this point is not important. He went through the court system. He had a trial jury. There was, they went through the whole process. He was found innocent. There's video evidence. One of the guys he shot admitted on the stand that he pointed a pistol at him. From a logical standpoint, fact-based, period, that's the very definition of self-defense. And everyone has self-defense works for anyone. It has nothing, and they made it into a race thing, and that's the other part I don't understand. Kyle Rittenhouse, from what I see, and I've read and researched, there's a little bit of conflicting information, but there's police records stating, there's public records stating some cases that Kyle's dad is either Caucasian or Hispanic. So that leads me to believe that Kyle, and just looking at him, being real, he's probably got some Hispanic blood in him. Let's be real. So he's at least partially, most likely, Hispanic. And they were trying to make it into a race thing, and he shot 3 white people. So here's a guy who is either Caucasian or partially Hispanic. I don't frankly care. Who shot 3 white people, which frankly I also don't care. Yet they're making it a race thing. I understand why Black Lives Matter is getting involved. Hey, it's a way to raise awareness, raise attention, get people worked up, and get more donations, folks. Black Lives Matter is not about saving black lives. Black Lives Matter is about raising money for themselves and causing chaos to raise more money, right? It's a money-making project. I got to give them credit where credit's due, right? So it has nothing to do with that. That's my point. And it's just silly. And to be honest with you, because I hadn't paid all that close attention to it, I was surprised when I saw the court testimony and all these things and found out he actually shot 3 white dudes who were attacking him. I didn't know all that. So it was became obviously clear. Yet even after the fact, after the court, after the video evidence, after the witness on the stand, the guy who actually pointed the gun at him on the stand said, yes, I pointed the gun at his face. There's still people that refuse to acknowledge that this is, they're still calling him a murderer or whatever. And they're refusing to acknowledge the facts. They're refusing to acknowledge self-defense or anything else for that matter. And I got to thinking about it more and more about why. Again, when I've shared this a while back, this will make some sense. I struggled to understand people that wanted to move to a bigger government system, more government control, the nanny state, so to speak, cradle to grave, all this. Because I struggled to understand that because I loved freedom so much, I automatically assumed others did too. And I realized later that wasn't necessarily true. Not everyone loves freedom as much as I do. In fact, some people would prefer to be taken care of. In other words, the land of opportunity is not their ideal. The land of dependency is. They just want to be taken care of. So it's kind of the same thing here, folks. See, generally speaking, although none of us are perfect, truth rules, right? I mean, you much rather be dealing in a world of truth than one of untruth. And because truth is so clear and crisp and distinct, you love, and any morally just, upright person, I think, really strives to be truthful and strives for the truth in their lives. And so we're a lover of the truth, right? You automatically assume others are too. Just like I said, the other thing about loving freedom so much, you assume others love freedom too. But what I've come to realize is that's not the case. Human nature is fallen. We're in a state of, we're not perfect. The Bible talks about it. We're all sinners, right? And I'm not here to preach to you, but what I want you to understand is we are not perfect and we are flawed. And there are people who strive, who actually benefit from the lies over the truth. And many of them are politicians. Many of those, the legacy media, they gain power, they gain money, they gain control. And what I've come to realize is there are people, and many of them in control of our government and media and Hollywood and education and places like that right now, who love power far more than they love truth. In fact, if truth gets in the way, they'll just push that aside if it helps them gain more power. So really for them, their ultimate goal is power. And the other part, this is the last piece of it, putting it all together. I couldn't understand why they would choose situations like this Kyle Rittenhouse, where making it about racism when it has nothing to do with race. It's a white guy or Hispanic guy shooting 3 other white guys. I mean, there's nothing to do with race here. And they made it all that. And what I came to realize is if you're willing to tout the party line, repeat the lie. In fact, this is something that Joseph Goebbels did, and many the Nazis and many governments throughout history have done this. If you're willing to copy the lie, so Goebbels, I think Joseph Goebbels was famous for saying, "Share a lie often enough, eventually people believe it." But if you're one that's willing to repeat that, you're now in the club. You're part of them. And that's like the initiation. That's like you're in the group, okay? And that's how they can separate those who they can count on, who will do what they want them to do, whether it's the truth or not. It's an initiation almost. It's a rite of passage. It's, and the leaders, the ones in power, remember they love power, know they can count on those people to do whatever. And that's the big secret. That's the reason behind it. So We've got to stick to what's true because the truth shall set you free, and we just stay the course. We're in the majority. We will win this thing, okay? We have a battle ahead of us, but we will win this thing. And so I firmly believe that. I'm excited about the future, but I think that's a piece that again, I was really struggling with, understanding why people would be so willing not to believe the lies that like the legacy media would share or politicians would share or whatever. And not only that, but then repeat it. Oh, and we just repeat it over and over and ad nauseum, right? And there's no thought process there. There's no logic. There's no truth. And so that helped me understand where those, in other words, their religion, if you will, they're all important. The ones that are directing this, leading this, whatever, it's about power. And that's really what I've said this many, many times. If you understand what a politician wants, 1, they want to get elected. 2, they want to get reelected. And 3, everything else that'll support them on those first 2 things, right? So Biden, I think, is in a little bit different place because I said this in a previous show. A lot of people don't think he's fully in control, and evidence definitely shares that because he'll say one thing and then come back and change his story, change his approach, change his policy. After his handlers, many people get to him, is because I think he made a deal with the devil, so to speak. He wasn't going to win. He knew it. It was his last chance, and they put him in there because they knew Bernie wasn't going to win. And they were going to say, look, we'll control the decisions and the policies and the appointments and various things like that, and you get to be, the puppet master, right? And he wanted to be president, so he got what he wanted. And I think that's why where we're at. We just have to remember elections have consequences. Never forget that. And again, if you want to gain control of your money, reduce taxes, offset inflation, and get positive arbitrage, contact me at yourpersonalbank.com or toll free 866-268-4422. And as always, stay tuned to the Your Personal Bank Show.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com.